Long ago, before the world understood the meaning of hope, a quiet promise rested over the earth. Generations waited for a light that would one day break through the darkness. Prophets spoke of a Savior who would come as a child, bringing peace, truth, and a love greater than anything the world had ever known. In a small town called Nazareth lived a young woman named Mary. She was gentle, humble, and faithful in heart. One ordinary day, something extraordinary happened. A heavenly messenger appeared before her, radiant with a peace she had never felt before, and told her that God had chosen her. She would carry a child, and he would be called the Son of the Most High. His kingdom would never end. Although Mary did not fully understand, she trusted God completely. With a heart full of courage, she said yes. And in that moment, the greatest miracle the world would ever know began quietly inside her. Joseph, the man she was promised to, struggled at first when he learned she was expecting a child. But as he slept, an angel appeared to him in a dream, reassuring him that the child was from God. When Joseph awoke, peace settled in his heart. He chose to obey, and he stood by Mary with strength, love, and faith. Soon after, a decree was announced that everyone had to return to their ancestral hometown to be counted. For Joseph and Mary, this meant traveling to Bethlehem. The road was long and tiring, especially for Mary, as her time to give birth drew close. Yet step by step, they continued, trusting God to guide each moment. When they finally reached Bethlehem, the town was crowded with travelers. Joseph knocked on every door, searching for a place to stay. But each inn was full. Again and again, he heard the same response. There was no room. With night falling and Mary ready to give birth, Joseph continued to search desperately. At last, a kind man saw their need and offered them a place in a stable behind his house. It was simple, quiet, and humble, but it was shelter. And there, surrounded by the warmth of animals and the rustle of hay, Mary gave birth to her son. She wrapped him in soft cloth and laid him in a manger. In that moment, heaven touched earth. The child who carried the light of the world had arrived in the humblest of places, not in a palace, not with trumpets or crowns, but in a quiet stable under a sky full of stars. That same night, shepherds watched over their flocks in the fields nearby. It was an ordinary evening until the sky suddenly blazed with brilliant light. An angel stood before them, and the glory of God shone all around. The shepherds were terrified, but the angel spoke words of comfort and joy, telling them that a Savior had been born in the town of David, and that they would find him wrapped in cloth and lying in a manger. Suddenly, the sky filled with an entire host of angels, singing in breathtaking harmony, praising God and declaring peace on earth. The shepherds' fear turned into wonder. As the light faded and the night grew still again, they looked at one another and knew they had to go. They hurried to Bethlehem, their hearts racing with hope. When they arrived, they found Mary, Joseph, and the baby lying in the manger, just as the angel had said. They bowed down in amazement, overwhelmed that God had chosen to reveal such glory to ordinary shepherds in the fields. The shepherds could not keep the news to themselves. As they left, they told everyone they met about the child they had seen and the message they had heard from the angels. All who listened were amazed at their story. But Mary stayed quiet, treasuring every word and every moment, storing each one deep in her heart. Far away in the east, wise men studied the stars. One night, they noticed a bright new star, unlike anything they had ever seen. They understood it as a sign that a great king had been born. With hearts full of purpose, they gathered their treasures and began a long journey, following the star that shone ahead of them. They traveled across deserts and mountains, through heat and cold, never losing sight of the light that guided their way. Night after night, the star continued to shine, drawing them closer to the place where the promised child lay. Their journey was not easy, but the hope of meeting the newborn king gave them strength. As the wise men traveled west, the star continued to shine before them, brighter than any light in the sky. It moved with purpose, guiding them steadily toward Judea. The journey was long, but their hearts were filled with expectation, knowing that they were drawing closer to the child who would change the world. When they entered the region of Judea, they went to Jerusalem, the city of the king. They asked openly, "Where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? We have seen his star in the east and have come to worship him." Their question stirred the entire city, for no one had heard of a newborn king. King Herod, known for his fear and jealousy of any threat to his throne, was deeply troubled by their words. He gathered the chief priests and teachers of the law and asked where the Messiah was foretold to be born. They answered that the prophets declared he would be born in Bethlehem, the town of David. Herod secretly called the wise men to a private meeting. He asked them exactly when the star had appeared, and then sent them to Bethlehem with a deceitful request. "Go and search carefully for the child," he told them. "As soon as you find him, report to me, so that I too may go and worship him." Although Herod's words sounded sincere, his heart was filled with fear, not worship. But the wise men, unaware of his intentions, left Jerusalem and continued on their journey. And as they stepped out of the city, the star they had seen in the east appeared again, shining brightly above them. Their hearts were filled with joy as the star moved ahead, leading them straight toward Bethlehem. It stopped over the place where the child was. The wise men approached with awe, knowing that they were at the end of a divine journey. When they entered the home, they saw the child with Mary, his mother. Overcome with wonder, they bowed down and worshipped him. They opened their treasures and presented him with gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Gifts fit not for an earthly king, but for the King of heaven. That night, as they slept, God warned the wise men in a dream not to return to Herod. They realized the danger and left quietly, choosing a different route back to their homeland. The star that had guided them home faded behind them, but the memory of the child they had seen would remain with them forever. After the wise men departed, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream. "Get up," the angel said. "Take the child and his mother and escape to Egypt. Stay there until I tell you, for Herod is searching for the child to destroy him." Joseph, Mary, and the child traveled through the night toward Egypt, a land far from home but filled with the promise of safety. The journey was long and uncertain, yet God guided each step. In the quiet hours of dawn and the heat of the day, they pressed forward, knowing that the life of the child depended on their obedience. Once they arrived in Egypt, they found refuge among strangers who welcomed them with kindness. Far from their own people, Joseph worked with his hands, providing faithfully for his family. Mary cared for the child, watching him grow day by day. Though they were far from home, they never doubted that God was with them, protecting and sustaining them. Meanwhile, Herod's anger burned fiercely when he realized that the wise men had not returned to him. Fearful of losing his power, he commanded a cruel and tragic order to destroy all the baby boys in Bethlehem and the surrounding region. But God had already moved Joseph, Mary, and the child to safety. The one Herod feared was beyond his reach, protected by the hand of heaven. Time passed, and eventually Herod's life came to an end. His throne grew cold, and his power faded away. What he tried to silence could never be silenced, for the light of God cannot be extinguished by the will of men. After Herod's death, an angel of the Lord appeared once more to Joseph in a dream. "Arise," the angel said, "take the child and his mother and return to the land of Israel. Those who sought the child's life are gone." Joseph awoke with relief, grateful for the news he had longed to hear. He gathered Mary and Jesus, and together they began the journey home. The roads felt familiar again, and the promise of returning to their own people filled them with renewed hope. Yet when Joseph heard that Herod's son Archelaus now ruled in Judea, fear stirred in his heart. He sought God's guidance once more, and in another dream, he was warned to avoid Judea. So Joseph led his family north to the region of Galilee, settling in a quiet village called Nazareth. There, among rolling hills and simple homes, life found its rhythm again. The child grew strong and healthy, surrounded by the warmth of his family and the beauty of the land. Jesus grew not only in strength, but in wisdom. His eyes held a depth beyond his years, and his kindness drew people close. In the marketplace, in the fields, and in the small stone streets of Nazareth, those who saw him felt a peace they could not explain. Though he lived an ordinary life, nothing about him was ordinary. In those quiet years, God's promise continued to unfold. Every day prepared him for the purpose he carried. And while many in Nazareth knew him only as the carpenter's son, heaven watched with wonder, knowing that the child who once lay in a manger would one day reveal the fullness of God's love to the world. As the years passed, Jesus grew in both wisdom and grace. His childhood in Nazareth was simple and peaceful, filled with learning, helping, and growing alongside family and neighbors. Though his days looked ordinary, there was a quiet strength in him that set him apart. His kindness ran deep, and his words carried a gentleness that made people pause and listen. When Jesus was 12 years old, Mary and Joseph traveled with him to Jerusalem for the annual Passover festival, just as they did each year. The city was alive with travelers from near and far, with songs and prayers filling the air. Families gathered in the temple courts to remember God's faithfulness, and Jesus walked among them with wide, observant eyes. After the festival ended, the travelers began their journey home. People moved in large groups, talking and laughing as they walked. Mary and Joseph assumed Jesus was among their relatives or friends, safely traveling within the crowd. They continued the first day's journey without worry. But when evening came and families settled to rest, they searched for him among their relatives and did not find him. Their hearts tightened with fear. They asked everyone, calling his name, but he was nowhere in the caravan. Realizing he was missing, Mary and Joseph quickly turned back toward Jerusalem. For 3 long days they searched the bustling city. They retraced their steps through crowded streets and busy markets, looking for any sign of him. Their worry deepened with each passing hour. They prayed for guidance, trusting that God would lead them to their son. At last, they found Jesus in the temple courts. There, he sat among the teachers, listening intently and asking thoughtful questions. His calm presence contrasted with the anxiety his parents had endured. Those who heard him were astonished by his wisdom and understanding, far beyond his age. When Mary and Joseph reached him, relief washed over them. Mary gently asked why he had remained behind without telling them. Jesus looked at them with sincere innocence and quiet certainty, expressing that he needed to be in his Father's house. His words carried a meaning they could not fully grasp, yet Mary held on to them carefully. Jesus returned with them to Nazareth, obedient and respectful. Though the moment in the temple revealed a glimpse of his divine purpose, he continued to grow in the ordinary rhythms of village life. Mary treasured every memory, tucking each one deep into her heart as she watched her son grow. And so, the years continued, with Jesus increasing in wisdom and stature, and in favor with God and with all who knew him. His life remained humble and hidden, but heaven watched with anticipation, knowing that each passing year brought him closer to the purpose for which he had come. Time moved forward, and the quiet years in Nazareth shaped Jesus into a young man of strength, kindness, and deep wisdom. Mary often watched him with a gentle smile, remembering the night he was born. Though many seasons had passed since the stable in Bethlehem, those memories remained bright in her heart, as if heaven had painted them there forever. She remembered the journey, the doors that would not open, and the humble place where she finally laid him to rest. She remembered the shepherds, breathless with awe, telling of angels filling the sky with a song of glory. She remembered the star that led wise men across distant lands, guiding them to bow before the child who had come to save the world. There were moments when Mary would sit in the quiet of the evening, listening to the sounds of Nazareth, and reflect on how far they had come. She thought of how God had chosen humility instead of grandeur, a manger instead of a throne, and a silent night instead of a celebration. Every detail told the story of a love so gentle and yet so powerful that it could transform the world from the inside out. While Mary remembered the beginning, heaven remembered too. The angels who once sang over the hills of Bethlehem had never forgotten that night. The light that broke through the darkness still shone in every heart willing to receive it. Though many years had passed, the miracle of Jesus' birth continued to echo through time, touching lives in ways unseen. And so the meaning of Christmas lived on, not just in the wonder of that holy night, but in the love that Jesus brought with him, a love that welcomed the broken, comforted the weary, lifted the forgotten, and offered hope to every corner of the earth. This was the gift heaven had given, wrapped not in gold or silk, but in the tender form of a child. Every time the story was told, whether in quiet homes, in bustling cities, or under starlit skies, the light of that night shone once more. Hearts softened, hope stirred, faith awakened, and peace, the kind that reaches beyond circumstances, settled gently over those who believed. Today, that same light still shines. It shines in moments of kindness, in acts of forgiveness, in songs of joy, and in the simple courage of choosing love over fear. It shines whenever we remember that God drew near, not to the powerful, but to ordinary people in ordinary places. So when we celebrate Christmas, we remember not only the beauty of the story, but the promise that it carries, a promise that God is with us, that we are seen, we are known, and we are deeply loved. The child born in Bethlehem came to bring peace to hearts and hope to the world, and that gift remains as powerful today as it was on the night he arrived. And that night, in the quiet of a humble stable, under a sky full of watching stars, heaven sang. The echoes of that song have never faded, and the world has never been the same again. If this story has touched your heart, let its light continue in your life. Share kindness, choose hope, and let love guide your steps, just as the star once guided wise men long ago. Thank you for watching Bible Folks, where the stories of Scripture come alive with warmth, faith, and imagination. If this Christmas story has blessed you, we invite you to like, share, and subscribe so that many more can hear and feel the light of His love. May His peace rest over your home. May His joy brighten your days, and may the song of that holy night live in your heart, today and always. Merry Christmas.
Lift your hearts, let hope arise. A new life fills the winter skies. In Bethlehem a child was born to bring us peace on Christmas morn. The shepherds ran with joyful cries. The